Damn, we're out of gas. I guess we better start scavenging.
More fuel won't help us now. The way that blood plague is progressing, your friend won't last long without a place to rest.
Hey everyone, it's Peter Brown standing in for Alessandro Barbosa for his review of State of Decay 2. State of Decay 2 sometimes feels like a far too real representation of the mundane reality that comes with surviving a zombie apocalypse. With its myriad systems and emphasis on survival and humanity, it attempts to tie together its incessant prodding for risky supply runs and the need to care for other hopeless survivors. But it fails to generate any interesting or varied scenarios in doing so. Consistently being on the hunt for food, resources to craft ammunition, and survivors to bolster your ranks doesn't always translate into captivating gameplay.
Hello, anybody? I'm in a fucking bad spot here.
Like the first game from Undead Labs, State of Decay 2 infrequently checks in with an overarching narrative. You're given the choice of 3 pairs of survivors to start off with, each with their own bare-bones background stories. These stories don't really matter, but your decision does define your starting area and the preliminary survivors you'll team up with to combat a growing sickness called the Blood Plague. That boils down to a static number of zombie-infested settlements that you'll need to first scout out and ultimately destroy, with grotesque, beating plague hearts at the center.
It's done! The plague heart is destroyed!
That's great news. I feel...
These fights are the only real way to measure progression through State of Decay 2's otherwise open-ended mission. Each one you take down strengthens the rest, forcing you to step back and regroup before attempting to blow up another one. Unfortunately, they are basic action set pieces at their core, without much variety to help shake up the otherwise monotonous scavenging.
They're definitely on their way now.
State of Decay 2 is primarily about survival, and with that it brings the same baggage the genre is known for. Although you're spared the stress of dealing with individual meters for hunger and thirst, you'll instead be engaging with ones that affect your community. Food, medical supplies, and crafting materials all factor into the stability of your community and the overall mood of your survivors governing how well you're doing. Although your settlement initially requires some quick work to get on its feet, State of Decay 2 hardly feels like it will fail you for slacking on your daily duties. Resources only become troublesome when you need them to craft something specific, such as ammo or plague cures. They're short-lived problems, though, which hardly force you to pause and think about how you're setting up your settlement. It's rare for State of Decay 2 to make you feel pressure over the choices you make, which just makes its subsystems feel shallow. There is potential for strategic play that feels left by the wayside. As an example, your base features a threat level which governs how likely you are to attract a zombie attack. Creating new structures, or powering them with generators, creates noise and in turn increases the likelihood of an attack for a certain period of time. But even at the highest level, a community of just 6 members is often enough to fend off these attacks without needing specific intervention from you. Of the handful of moments that my character was radioed to return, the fight was over by the time I arrived. All structures intact, all settlers unharmed. State of Decay 2 squanders systems like this by not giving you a reason to engage with them seriously. It strips out the decision-making you might expect. If your aim is to continually bring new survivors to a settlement, but also worry about their well-being, your encounters with each new face should feature some scrutiny as to what they bring to the table. Their distinct abilities set them apart from each other, but not in a way that forces you to make tough decisions about who to invite into your settlement. The sheer breadth of options on offer might trick you into thinking that scrutinizing each potential addition is key, but that's not the case. Frequently, State of Decay 2 reminds you that clashing personalities are leading to fights at home base, but these never escalate to a point where you're required to take action. You never feel the need to exile an existing character or deny entry to one based on their lack of a specific skill. There's definitely a lack of strategy missing from this component entirely, which strips out the potential for exciting, albeit difficult, decision-making. And combat isn't as dynamic as some character-specific abilities might suggest, but it is satisfying nonetheless. A single button is used for attacks, which depending on your weapon of choice could inflict blunt knockdown damage or whittle an enemy down limb by limb. The gory finishers and gruesome sound effects really bring a weight to the melee action, even if you're just mindlessly mashing the same button until your stamina expires. Firearms feature 2, and ammunition for them is actually far more abundant than you might expect. Guns attract more zombies, even with silencers, but it's the sluggish aiming that's more frustrating in practice. State of Decay 2 does a fair job of mixing things up with the introduction of some new enemy types. While some less interesting additions, such as exploding bloaters, feature maybe more than they should, 2 others shake up combat in delightful ways. Ferals will jolt around at high speeds, avoiding your melee swings and making firearms a nightmare to connect with. Similarly, juggernauts make up the largest foes you'll face on the frontier. They'll soak up hits from vehicles and rounds of ammunition before giving you a chance to take them down with a satisfying execution. Combined with regular, limbering enemies that will quickly surround you, Juggernauts make fights more about clever crowd control. But big crowds can be stressful for other reasons. State of Decay 2 runs poorly, even on Xbox One X. Despite not standing out graphically in any regard, the frame rate will frequently dip well below 30 frames per second, sometimes even locking up momentarily. As a result, inputs often feel unresponsive, which becomes annoying when you're trying to swing your way out of a supply run gone wrong. This is all stacked on top of a motion blur problem that is so aggressive that even the slightest movement turns your surroundings into an unattractive smudge. And bugs are prominent too, and can range from slightly annoying to near game-breaking. Graphical hitches are frequent, including enemies clipping through the environment, and sometimes having whole hordes stuck on single sections of the map. Physics will miscalculate, launching your vehicle in the air from a slight touch at low speeds. Companions are also particularly prickly, with some disappearing from missions for no reason.
Hey, neighbor.
State of Decay 2 is in rough shape as it stands. These technical faults might have been easier to overlook if State of Decay 2 had enough depth to keep you interested in the long run. In its current form, it settles into a rhythm that might be enjoyable for a few hours, but it never offers much in the way of surprises, excitement, or motivation. State of Decay 2 feels like the limbering enemies that populate its country mountains. Aimless, wandering, and just out of place.
Hey, speed up some.